How's it going? I'm Kevin Smeltz with the David Ledbetter Golf Academy. We want to talk about solid contact. What does solid contact mean? Well, it means slightly different things with each club. In the sits and the angle of attack is going to be different. With an iron, we're trying to hit down on the ball. With a shorter iron, we're actually hitting slightly more down. But typically with the irons, a descending angle onto the ball. To maximize distance with the driver, slightly ascending. Even though they'll talk in terms on TV of sometimes how the average tour player hits slightly down, to maximize distance, level to slightly ascending. So let's talk about the driver first. Certainly solid contact is going to mean in the middle of the face. But with technology over the years, it's changed slightly in the sense that you can hit it a little higher on the face to optimize your launch and spin conditions, to launch it higher, keep the ball in the air longer, and when it hits the ground, it'll spin more. So with the driver, we're going to hit the ball slightly higher here. You'll see with a lot of PGA Tour players, if you get a chance to see their drivers, some of the tee marks will be right here. So that driver is going to be hit slightly higher. Certainly we want to hit it in the middle of the face, not on the toe, not on the heel. So we want a slightly ascending blow. Okay, so what does that mean? The setup's going to obviously differ slightly. The ball is going to be slightly more forward to get it level to slightly ascending blow. Our stance is going to be wider. Remember, that coupled with the fact that our right hand's lower than our left is going to tilt our spine slightly more to the right. So as I do that, as I come into the ball, level to slightly ascending. One thing you'll notice different with a driver and an iron as well, the hands are going to look slightly more back or level with the head of the club. With an iron, as we'll see, I'll take an 8 iron here. With my stance more narrow, my spine will be slightly more straight up and down. With the ball back slightly, my hands are going to appear more forward, which remember is going to put more of a descending angle onto the ball, even though we're still going to hit it right here in the middle of the face. Okay? So that'll vary slightly. Oftentimes at corporate events I get asked, how do you hit it solid with a driver? That's usually the most popular question that's asked with regards to hitting it solid. The big key is that setup. If you can set up with the ball slightly more forward on the inside of your left heel, with your spine tilted slightly more to the right, that's going to be a big step for you. Now if we go down a little bit to a fairway wood, I have a 3 wood here. Remember, you're still going to make a slightly sweeping type of a motion. It might be slightly descending, but it's going to feel certainly more of a sweeping type motion than an iron. So I'm going to have the ball positioned on the inside of my left foot, stance slightly wider than an iron again, and if I do it from here, one of the keys obviously is I'm standing slightly further from the ball. My hands will be slightly higher, my spine will feel slightly higher, mainly regards to the fact that the club's a little bit longer, but very important. A lot of us, we start to bend forward, we start to lean too much toward the target with these fairway woods in an effort to beat down on it and try to hit it solid. But remember, with the design of the club these days, you can see how shallow this head is, how wide the sole is. That gives us the extra technology to get the thing up in the air. Okay, so what are some drills to hit it solid? We've got a few here with an iron. I'll take a shaft here. I'm going to put this shaft about 6 inches, 8 inches or so behind the golf ball. I'm going to take this pyramid of balls and I'm going to put it just on top of it. That way if I actually do hit this, you can see it's just rubber. The grip's kind of been pulled off of the shaft a little bit. It's just rubber. If I hit it, it's not going to do anything, but it won't spin around and possibly hit me. So the goal of this is if I swing back, I can hit this thing slightly. Remember, it's only rubber, but as I come down, the goal is to miss this shaft coming down, make consistent square contact, and then make a divot after the ball. So you can see in order to do that, the angle of this club has to be descending. My hands are forward, and then you'll make a divot after the ball. What a lot of us will do is, due to the setup, due to the weight shift, when our body hangs back, the club's ascending, and you can see you're going to hit this shaft. Okay, so let's give it a shot here. So again, I'm going to start with a short iron here. I put it 6 or 8 inches behind the ball. Remember, I can just brush it going back if I need to, but as I come down, I'm going to try not to hit it. So you can see I came down fairly steep on that as well because I actually hit the ball and then the divot was even slightly ahead of it. It wasn't exactly where the ball is. So that's a great drill, remember, to promote that angle onto the ball, hands forward, and to take a divot. Remember, that's going to have more compression, more ball speed. For those of you that play down where it's windy, really flight the ball the proper trajectory and keep it under the wind. Okay? Another good drill we can do, move our shaft here. Is I'm just going to pose where impact would be. So once again, I'm going to take my good setup. I'm going to go to where I know impact is. So my weight's going to go forward, my hips are going to be turned, my shoulders fairly square, and I'm going to feel some pressure as my right leg rolls in the back of that right wrist, and almost push into the ground a little bit. I can feel it in the trigger finger of my right hand. Okay, so you're going to pose that position, come to impact, and that sensation will actually stay with you for a few seconds. So pose impact, try to get that sensation, go to address, and hit it. You can see I made a nice divot there. Another thing that's important is your width with regards to solid contact. We'll see a lot of times people get too wide going back, too much width creates too narrow of an arc coming down. You'll see a lot of people actually bend their arms coming down and you can't hold the angle. This club weighs too much when your arc or your radius is narrowing. You've got to get this club longer in essence to get the thing back down to the ball to even make contact with it. So I want to keep the width constant. The distance from the grip of the club to the center of my chest is what we're thinking here. I can still hinge my wrist and keep this width the same. Right? Because remember, that's going to give you some leverage and that's going to encourage the angle of attack to be downward onto the ball to hit it solid. Width doesn't mean keep that club as far away from you as you can. We're just going to keep this distance the same, all the way back and all the way through. Now as you do it, as you keep that width, that doesn't mean keep your right arm straight, because my right arm can fold because my club is actually swinging around my body, because remember, I'm standing on the side of the golf ball. Okay? So a great drill for that. Right arm only. Take a sand wedge, tee it up, make a couple practice swings. You can choke down a little bit. Because you can see as I do that, to support this club, I can't get too wide and get too narrow coming down. I can't get too narrow going back because I can't support the club with only one hand. So that'll keep your width nice and solid, consistent. And you can tap some shots out there like that, okay? Very important. Remember, you wouldn't putt like this with your radius changing, because it'd be too inconsistent. You wouldn't never make solid contact. So you want to keep that consistent, okay? Very important for solid contact. So we've talked about the driver. Now let's get a drill to help you here. Remember, your setup is going to promote that ascending angle, slightly ascending angle onto the ball. What we see oftentimes is people think, okay, I only have somewhere between 8.5 or 11.5 degrees of loft on a driver. I've got to really try to get the ball in the air. That's not the case. Remember, your setup's going to promote that. You don't have to hang back to try to lift the ball up into the air. So once you get your setup, that ball's forward, your spine angle's tilted slightly to the right, that's it. You can go ahead and swing all the way through, show the bottom of your shoe as you do it. So you can see my weight's balanced right up on the right toe there. Remember, turn all the way through, all the way left of the target with your chest, and get that right foot up in the air. That I'm sure will help your game. Now let's talk about the hybrids real quick. The hybrids recently have had a dramatic impact on the game. You'll even see it in a lot of PGA Tour players' bags as they play. So, slightly shallower angle, wider sole, helps you get the ball up in the air a little bit. Technology is helping you here versus the old 1 irons, 2 irons, and 3 irons. So, Remember, even the PGA Tour players, even though it has a bit of a shape like a wood, it's also like an iron. They're going to hit down on it a little bit. So a good drill to promote that, just pull your right foot back a little bit to make you feel like you're on top of the ball. Again, we don't really want to feel like we're helping this thing in the air. We want to feel like we're slightly more on top of it there to get that downward angle, compress that ball. So to do the drill, just set up normal. Then pull your right foot back slightly where the right toe's even with the saddle of your shoe. As you do it, you're going to feel like your right foot stays down slightly longer than normal, so your chest really rotates, because this will inhibit a little bit of the lower body action, so your chest can rotate a bit. So set up, normal. Just pull my right foot back slightly, where it's even with the saddle. Keep that right foot on the ground slightly longer. That'll help you hit it a lot more solid with a little slightly descending angle of attack. So remember, solid contact. Everybody wants it. Most of us need a lot more of it. Follow these fundamentals and I guarantee you're going to hit more solid shots.